Hello everybody, Infinite Shinjo here. Welcome back to Let's Talk Anime, and I'm finally ready to get back to you guys' suggestions after taking a week off to discuss winter anime. So let's get started. So up first is Arifureta. Although for the longest time when I saw this poster and the title, I thought it was pronounced Arifureta. I can't tell you why. I think there are just some times that I can't explain why I'm stupid. But anyway, with this show, where do I even get started? Since it was suggested for a video, I can almost imagine that there are people that are looking forward to me talking about this. But in all honesty, there was only like a couple of things good that I can say about it, but not much else. I really like the opening. It sounds really catchy. I'm gonna have to listen to the full version because I don't recall doing that yet. The monster designs are absolutely terrifying. The whole big freaking rabbit thing. If you watch that at the end of the night, you get nightmares. Guaranteed. And I do like how they take the anti-hero story kind of twist like they did with Shield Hero. But I say kind of because outside of that, it just all kind of falls apart. Because from what I remember, it's basically a class isekai. The whole class gets sent to a different world or something like that. I don't know if they even explain it. They start the first episode in a weird way where it's just like, it's like those memes where you're right in the middle of everything and then it just pauses and said, "Yep, that's me." I bet you're wondering how I got into this situation. Well, here's how it started, and they go back, and it's kind of weird. I feel like it would have been better if they would have just introduced it in the order that it happened, but what do I know about storytelling? Outside of that, the story is just kind of bland and generic to me. Now, I only watched the first episode, so it's not really a good telling on the whole show, but just from what I've seen, it's just like, oh, this is like every other isekai. Especially the whole thing of main character dude thinks somebody's out to get him or somebody is actually out to get him. Honestly, I could care less. And he's out on his own. Somehow he manages to kill one of the terrifying beast animals that's there. I don't remember how. He eats that meat and it just turns his hair white for whatever reason. Whatever animal he ate must have known he's part of an isekai and he's gonna be the main character, so they decided to just change his hair white because, you know, when you gotta be super edgy, you gotta change your hair white, right? And that's the other problem that I have with it. I have no problem with edgier sort of anime as long as they're good and interesting, like Madoka Magica. It had a story to tell. It was a good story. I really enjoyed it. But this just seems super generic. And it's just being edgy just so everybody that watches it that probably shops at Hot Topic and Spencer's just as like, yeah, I like this. That last part might have been too harsh, but you get what I'm saying. It's just being edgy, just to be edgy. I don't really see anything besides that. And if it gets better after the first episode, then I can be more than happy to watch it again. But if it keeps the pace that it's going, it's just gonna be just like every other isekai where main character turns, I don't want to say evil, but evil is the best way I can explain it, and he just turns all edgy and just like, huh. It's basically he becomes a male tsundere. That's the best way I can explain it in anime terms. I don't really want to say too much bad on it, mission accomplished by the way, because I know that there's a fan base for this show, there's a fan base for every show, but at the same time, it's not for me just because it's super generic, and just for being edgy, it has nothing to show for it. So on a more positive note, we have Granbelm. I don't remember who recommended this to me, but if you're watching this video and you recommended this anime to me, you deserve a big round of applause, because this is probably the most fun that I've had with an anime that I don't understand what's even going on. So from what I gather, you have main character who's pink hair girl, so that's already a plus for me. And she's got a little sister, I remember that. And they just like go to school, and one night she realizes, oh, I left one of my lunch boxes in the classroom. How you do that, I'm not entirely sure. But she goes back to the school, and just out of freaking nowhere, everybody's riding in on giant robots, and they're fighting each other. That's basically all I can remember. I think they talked about, like, why it happens, but it's first episode. They're not going to explain everything in the first episode. But this show is fun. I can see good promise with how the show is going, and it kind of reminds me of going back to what I said earlier with Madoka Magica, because you just go into the first episode, main girl just gets interwoven into this plot that she doesn't know anything about, and it turns into something that's pretty dark, at least in Magica. With this, I'm not sure how they're going to do it, because they're just riding around on giant robots called Armanox. I don't remember why they're doing it, but I know that they're doing it. There are a lot of characters. One of the characters just doesn't like the pink hair girl, which I don't see why you couldn't. But even with the two main girls on the cover, I can see similarities between Madoka and Homura from Madoka Magica. The only negative I can say about it is if you just throw out all these technical terms like already mentioned Armanox, if they include other stuff like I'm gonna use my Peruvian thrusters, for example. If you throw out these terms that are only used in this anime and throw out too many at a time, it's gonna be jarring for a lot of new viewers, and it might push people away. Now, on the other hand, they can explain it in a way that actually makes sense to normal, everyday people. But this is certainly a good show that I'm going to continue watching. I do have a lot of stuff that I'm watching at the moment, but I'm definitely going to make room for this when I finish up a couple of shows that I'm watching. So finally, wrapping up this video, we have Dr. Stone. So the interesting things that I can mention about this show at the start is, I guess I should start with why I haven't got into it and why I haven't discussed it. First of all, the fact that I know it's primarily science-based, obviously with a doctor in the title, but much like how I don't like a lot of historical anime because I don't like history, I felt like it would be the similar thing with this because I'm not a big fan of science. Although, to be fair, I'm not really a fan of a lot of classes, which is why I probably don't like a lot of anime dedicated to math, science, although there are some exceptions. But the fact that I knew that it was just going to be, okay, you heat water to, I don't know, 320 degrees Fahrenheit in order to heat it up so we can do this or whatever. If it was going to be all these science technical terms that I knew nothing about, then I figured it wouldn't be enjoyable for me. And there's another reason I didn't like it, but I'll get back to that later. But I did watch the first 2 episodes, and the good parts that I can start by saying is the animation is really good. I like the character design as well. Even the song choice for the first OP and ED. Like, just imagine that you're sleeping and you have your alarm set ready to wake you up, and then just out of nowhere you hear Ohio Sakai, good morning world. You just hear that opening kick in and you know it's gonna be a good day. Even the ending. I don't hear a lot of people talk about the ending as much, but I do like the ending. And I know a lot of people talk up, what's it called, Senshoku? Or whatever it is, the second opening by Pelican Fan Club. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but that seems to be a common thing when I first hear anime openings and then I fall in love with them later. So, I don't know, might be just acquired taste too. But back to the actual show. So, unless you've been living under a rock, living under a rock, get it? That was a bad joke, isn't it? Whatever. It's basically about Senku and Taiju. They're at school, there are a bunch of other classmates. Taiju likes this girl called Yuzuriha. He wants to confess to her. When he finally gets his opportunity, although he's probably have multiple opportunities, but let's not think about that, the whole world just turns to frickin' stone. I don't know if they ever explain why the whole world turns to stone, but it just does. Then at the end of the first episode, Senku finds out a way to basically bring back all these people that were turned to stone, And they were going to start by reviving Yuzuriha, so Taiju has a chance with her, although I guess he still hasn't admitted his feelings, so not really. Actually, the second poster doesn't show her on at all, so I wonder if she's just going to get sidelined. But whatever. They end up getting caught in a pretty hairy situation, and they have to bring back like the strongest 5th grader or strongest middle schooler or whatever alive to take care of the situation, and his name is Tsukasa. Now you would think that being called the strongest alive and being, I don't know, in an anime dub, you would think they'd pick a good role for him, like we're gonna have Chris Sabat voice him because Chris Sabat was Vegeta, or we're gonna have Sean Schemmel voice him, the voice of Goku. But no, they just go with Ian Sinclair, the same voice as Whis. Which honestly, it seems like I'm making a joke about it, but I'm really not. I love Ian Sinclair's voice. It's very distinct. But at the end of the second episode, Tsukasa is asking Senku about, instead of bringing back everybody, just say, screw the adults, bring back all the kids because we know what to do, the adults don't. Kind of like a kids next door sort of way. But Senku isn't really on board with the idea, or he just doesn't like Tsukasa. Probably a combination of the two. But I like how a rift is already growing between them. I can see something like this coming into play later. Kind of redundant to say stuff like this because the show is done, so whatever. The one other plus I can say is that it teaches you about science without it sounding like a classroom. Like how Laid Back Camp taught you about camping without it sounding like they're preaching to you about it. Now, the only negative about it, and the main reason that I didn't watch it as quickly as other people, and kind of a dumb reason, kind of not, it's Taiju. I cannot stand Taiju. In the first episode, after they brought back that flippin' bird back to life, it's just flying around and Taiju's belting it out like he's trying to be an opera singer or something. And I'm just like, yes, science is amazing. I have seen that NPC at the start of every Pokemon game. Yes, technology and science is cool. You do not need to scream it to prove your point. Although taking that out of the equation, that was really my only main issue that I had with it after watching it. It's just Taiju needs to calm down. He needs to take a chill pill. I'm still gonna watch it because from what I'm seeing with more and more characters getting introduced, I'm hoping that Taiju will take a back seat. Although since he's the main character's sidekick, I feel like he probably won't. So my only other hope is that he tones it down a bit. But yeah, Dr. Stone was pretty good. Like Granbelm, I'm gonna keep up with this after it. I'm probably gonna finish watching the dub because I started with the dub of it. And when I get more time, I'll finish the dub of Dr. Stone and finish Granbelm. But it's probably going to be a while because I am horrible at time management. So that's today's episode of Let's Talk Anime. Did you enjoy it? If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, leave any suggestions down in the comment section, and I'll get to them when I have time. And I will see you in the next episode. Momentai.